poliomyelitis, like what is this? It is actually a viral infection, and this viral infection spreads through contaminated food and contaminated water. This is one part. But this infection then leads to paralysis of the muscles, and when there is paralysis of the muscles, that is what we call as polio or poliomyelitis, first part. Second part is that what are the symptoms of the disease? Actually, the polio is of two types. One is symptomatic, other is asymptomatic. Symptomatic means there are specific discernible distinguishable symptoms of polio, and the most visible symptom of polio is that child finds it extremely difficult to swallow anything which has been given to eat, whether it is solid, semi solid, whatever it is. Swallowing of the food it becomes extremely difficult, but the most unfortunate part is such cases are hardly 4%, means that remaining of the cases, that is 95 to 96%, although it is not exactly 4%, somewhere 4%, somewhere 5%, but what is this? Majority, or rather you can say whopping majority is asymptomatic. Asymptomatic means the child does not exhibit any specific symptoms of polio, and most of the time the symptoms are of common cold and fever type of thing, and unfortunately the parents are not able to make it out. And one more aspect is it is an irreversible issue. Once it is there, then it is there. So that is one part. So in the same context, India has been given a status of polio free country. Now I would like to know what are the conditions for a country to be given a polio free status. Easy one I am answering, difficult one for you because you have to write the exam. I do not have to write the exam. The easy one is there should be no case of clinical polio which is being reported for 3 consecutive years, means no polio case should be found in that country which is clinically proven for 3 consecutive years. This is first condition. If this condition is fulfilled, then the second condition is being rather you can evaluate it and implement it. What is the second condition? The second condition is this: once there is no polio case in a country for 3 consecutive years, then WHO, World Health Organization, sends its team to that particular country, and that team obviously of health experts or officials, they visit the dirtiest of the place in terms of sanitation. Then they collect the soil sample and water sample from there, and even if those samples report negative for the polio virus, then only that country is being given the polio free status. Very simple. Why the second condition? So for example, no case has been reported, but the virus is there, then very easily it can become a part of the body. So then it's going to be, the status is going to be rescinded or reverted back. This is first thing which you have to remember. 2 conditions has been there on the part of WHO, not 1 condition. Okay. Now second thing is, like one question which is there, what was the strategy of India as far as polio eradication is concerned? Was it about only one thing, conducting polio Sundays or something which is commonly known as Do Boon Zindagi Ki? That was not the case. Actually, India adopted a very comprehensive and a well coordinated polio eradication strategy, and which has become a case study in many other countries, like polio is now endemic in Afghanistan, Pakistan and Nigeria. Okay. So there also they are going to implement almost the same strategy, although case to case variation will be there depending upon the local circumstances. Then what were this 4-pronged strategy? 4-pronged strategy was first thing, must be there in the answer, achieving high rate of routine immunization. What is the meaning of high rate of routine immunization? See, the meaning of high rate of routine immunization is, if there is a child of age less than a year, then that child must receive 3 regular or consecutive doses of OPV, oral polio vaccine, which is being given. So that is high rate of routine immunization. Why? This way you are making sure that all those newborn which are there in a society or in a country, they are being given the vaccine. Now what is the purpose of vaccine? The purpose of vaccine is to activate the immune system, only activate. So that vaccine we are giving, actually this does not kill the virus, that does not kill the bacteria. rather it activates the immune system. How the activation of the immune system is done? It is like this. Actually our immune system is because of WBC, that I think all of you know that, white blood cells which are a part of our blood, okay, fine. Then these WBCs are having many varieties. Out of them I am going to mention just two. One is B cell and the other is T cell. These T cells are like the intelligence agency of our body, intelligence agency of our body. So their role is simple. Obviously whenever there is an infection, it has to be through blood, it has to transmit through blood, okay, fine. So these T cells encounter the pathogen, but they do not kill that pathogen, okay. After encountering, means detecting the pathogen, they generates the signals are being generated, and when these signals are received by B cell, they form what? They form antibody. And what are antibody? Antibodies are proteins, and these proteins then kill the pathogen. So this is what the vaccine is trying to do, activate the humoral immune system. Please remember for PT that vaccination is going to activate this particular system, part of the immune system, and humoral means when the immune system is based on the production of antibodies. That we are going to discuss this in case of monoclonal antibodies as well, but that is going to be done later on, fine. So then that was the first part, activating high rate, achieving high rate of routine immunization. Second was surveillance of AFP. Second, again very important. What is AFP? Acute flaccid, FLACID, flaccid paralysis. Flaccid as the general word is. Like in your case and in my case as well, muscles do have a tone. Tone means they do have some strength, okay, and that obviously. But in case of acute flaccid paralysis, the muscles becomes very loose, virtually hanging. It is a hanging, just hanging flesh, nothing more than that. So if that case was, and you might have seen the limbs also become slightly curved type of thing, that type of cases you might have been seen. So when, if there was a child of age less than 15 years, please remember, and if that child has developed AFP, acute flaccid paralysis, then in those areas there was a special emphasis on polio surveillance and monitoring. That was the second part. So first was routine immunization, second was surveillance of AFP, third was organizing national immunization days, organizing national immunization days, that is what we call as polio Sundays, okay, that is again it is still going on. Fourth part of the strategy is this combing operation. Combing operation, it was not some military operation. Combing operation was because of the above three steps, routine immunization, AFP surveillance, and this thing, national immunization days, polio got confined to some pockets. Like the last case was reported from Bengal, then there was a probability of one more case from Maharashtra, it means there is a probability. Then there was a special emphasis, door to door campaign, and all these things were carried out. This resulted in something what we call as polio eradication from the country. Here you if you compare this model with TB control, here emphasis was different, there emphasis was different. If you want universal health coverage, then simple, pick up the points of all these things, and then you should draw the model of universal health coverage for India. This should be there for epidemics, this should be there for these things, this should be there for this thing. That also we are going to do, but that is one poliomyelitis. Now please take down. Poliomyelitis. Poliomyelitis. It is a viral infection. It is a viral infection which spreads through contaminated food and water. Contaminated food and water. It leads to the infection of the nervous system, and ultimately the paralysis of the muscles. It leads to the infection of the nervous system and ultimately to the paralysis of the muscles, In most in severe cases, it could be fatal. Polio cases are of two types. First, symptomatic. Hardly 4% cases are of this type. And the most discernible symptom, discernible means distinguishable. Discernible symptom of polio is that child finds it extremely difficult to swallow. Next, asymptomatic. Majority of the cases are asymptomatic, that is, there is no specific symptom of polio. Full stop. In January 2014, WHO gave India polio free status, which is based on two conditions. First, there should be no reported case of clinical poliomyelitis. For 3 consecutive years. Second, there should be no detection of wild polio virus. In the samples collected by WHO officials. Full stop. To eradicate polio, India adopted a 4-pronged strategy. Involving first, achieving high rate of routine immunization. That is, every child of age less than a year should receive 3 consecutive polio dosages. Second, surveillance of AFP, acute flaccid paralysis, paralysis. In AFP, the muscles become loose and loses their shape. If any such case was reported, then a special surveillance and monitoring was carried out. Third, organizing national immunization days. Fourth, combing operation. Due to above 3 mode of actions, polio got confined to some pockets in the country. In those areas, intense anti-polio activities were carried out.